Hello everyone and welcome to Kalpishri biology classes. Now today we will be discussing about Mendel's laws of inheritance. Now we have already done monohybrid cross and dihybrid cross, and these two are required to be able to understand Mendel's laws of inheritance. So let us begin with Mendel's laws of inheritance. Now the work of Mendel was compiled in three laws. The first law that we are going to discuss is called the law of dominance. What does law of dominance mean? Law of dominance states that out of the two traits in the parent generation, only one gets expressed in F1. This is the law of dominance. Now what do I mean? Let me explain with the help of a monohybrid cross. Suppose if I have taken a tall pea plant and crossed it with a short pea plant, so what is going to happen? Let's say this is pure tall or homozygous tall and this is short. Okay, so gamete formation. And in the F1 generation, what are we getting? Capital T, small t. Okay, this means tall plant. Okay, so out of the two traits, that is tall and short in the parent generation, we got only one expressed in F1, and this is the dominant trait, and this is called the law of dominance. Okay, so this is law of dominance, right? And the same thing will be applicable even in a dihybrid cross. Now you know very well that in a dihybrid cross, we took two characters, that means four traits, right? So when you compare a contrasting pair of traits, then what do you find? That out of the two, only one will get expressed in F1 generation. And this is what is law of dominance. Now let's discuss law of segregation or law of purity of gametes. Okay, so this is the second law, that is law of segregation or law of purity of gametes. What does it mean? Now let me take you back again to monohybrid cross. We saw that out of the two traits in the parent generation, one gets expressed in F1. Right? That is law of dominance. And the one that gets expressed is the dominant trait. Now what do we do with the F1 generation? We go for selfing. And when selfing is being done, what happens? In F2 generation, we saw that the trait which could not be expressed in F1 got expressed in F2 generation. Okay, so how was that possible? So let us see. Now in the previous law, where I crossed a pure tall plant with a short plant, getting the gametes, crossing, and we got all tall plants. This is what we did in the previous law also. Now selfing to get this F2 generation. Now when selfing will be done, what is going to happen? Here, when we talk about gamete formation, what are we going to see? We will see that the alleles will get separated. Okay, so in both the cases, the alleles are getting separated, capital T, small t, capital T. So the alleles get separated during gamete formation, and what happens? You know, they will combine with each other to give rise to a new combination, isn't it? So this is what we did in dihybrid cross, in monohybrid cross also. Okay, so what we saw is that in this case, what is going to happen? I can draw the Punnett square again, just to show you. All these things are already discussed in the previous videos, but say capital T, small t, capital T, small t, the gametes. Okay, and the alleles got separated. Okay, so what combination are we going to get here? We are going to get this combination. So you can see that this possibility, both small t, that means a short plant, it is possible because during gamete formation, the alleles got separated. That means the gametes are pure as far as alleles are concerned, right? And that is why this law is also known as law of purity of gametes. Okay, let us now move to the third law, which is called law of independent assortment, and for that we need to take up a dihybrid cross. Remember, that monohybrid cross can explain the first two laws, but not the third law. For the third law, we have to discuss the dihybrid cross. Okay, but remember, I'm not saying that these two laws, that is law of dominance and law of segregation, cannot be explained by means of a dihybrid cross. Not at all. Yes, those can be explained with the help of a dihybrid cross also, but to explain law of independent assortment, we need to have the dihybrid cross. So let us discuss that law, the third law now. Let us discuss law of independent assortment. So for this, let me take a combination. Since we have to discuss a dihybrid cross, so we need to take two characters at a time. That means we will be talking about 4 traits. Okay, so let me take round seeds and yellow seeds crossed with wrinkled and green seeds. Fine. Round and yellow, wrinkled and green. Now I have taken this combination deliberately. If you watch my video on dihybrid cross, there I took round and green and wrinkled and yellow. Okay, so it doesn't matter at all. Whichever combination you take, the result is going to be the same. Okay. Now, since the dominant out of round and wrinkled, round is dominant, and yellow and green, yellow is dominant. Okay. Okay, so what will be the genotype here? For round, both capital R since it is dominant. For yellow, both capital Y because it is dominant. Wrinkled and green, wrinkled small r, green small y. Okay, I'm not writing that parent generation, all those things, that is already discussed in the previous videos. Now here gamete formation, what are we going to get? Capital R, capital Y, and in this case small r, small y. Now when fertilization occurs, what combination are we getting? Capital R, capital Y, small y. This shows that in F1 generation, all the seeds will be round as well as yellow. Okay, so can we have that law of dominance here as well? Out of round and wrinkled, round is dominant, it got expressed in F1. Out of yellow and green, yellow is dominant, it got expressed in F1. So even the law of dominance can be explained with this cross. Okay, now what happens is that when gamete formation will take place in F2, we go for selfing. So if selfing will be done, then what are we going to get? We are going to get this combination. Okay, so here when we go for gamete formation, we will be getting capital R, capital Y, one possibility, capital R, small y, then small r, capital Y, and small r, small y. Okay, now what do you see? What we find out is that this capital R can go with capital Y, it can go with small y, small r with capital Y, small r with small y. Now because of all the possible combinations, the ratio that we get, the phenotypic ratio that we get in F2 generation of a dihybrid cross is 9:3:3:1. Okay, now all this crossing was shown in dihybrid crosses video. You can see there. What I'm trying to tell you here is that the combination that we got in case of F2 generation, what was the combination did we get? We saw that all the plants were will have round and yellow. Okay, then round and green. How many were round and yellow? 9 were round and yellow out of 16. 3 were round and green out of 16. Okay, then we saw that it is wrinkled and yellow. Okay, so how many were wrinkled and yellow? It was 3 out of 16. And wrinkled and green, how many were wrinkled and green? It was 1 by 16. That means 1 out of 16. Okay. So this combination, that is, all the possible combinations can be seen in F2 generation in case of a dihybrid cross. And this is possible just because of the fact that during gamete formation, all the possible combinations were seen as far as the alleles are concerned. This is what is law of independent assortment. Okay, the characters, the traits, can be expressed, in any combination with each other. They exist independently. They are not linked to each other. That means, a round seed can be yellow also, a round seed can be green also. It is not that a round seed will always green or will always be yellow. It can exist in any combination. That means that the traits are getting inherited independently. Okay, are you getting it? So this is the main the importance actually, okay, of law of independent assortment. So with this we come to an end of the laws of inheritance. Now I have uploaded the statements of these 3 laws in the description box. You will be able to see from there. So if this question is asked, then in that case first you will state the law, and then with the help of a monohybrid or a dihybrid cross you can explain it. You can take any character, okay, or characters, right, and you can explain it. This is what you're supposed to do. And for those who think that no, these questions are never asked in board, let me tell you, you just go back, you will be able to see that in the previous year also a question was asked from law of dominance. Okay, so yes, these terms are not written in NCERT, but it has been explained with the help of a monohybrid and a dihybrid cross. So these are important. Fine. So I want you people to basically, write the statement if this question is asked, and then you can explain with the help of any cross. So these are the 3 laws of inheritance. So now that we have completed monohybrid cross, dihybrid cross, Mendel's laws of inheritance, so now we can conclude, the topic with the help of 2 questions. So I have selected 2 questions which were asked in board examination also. So let us discuss these 2 questions. So the first question is already on the board. So let's see, it's given a green stemmed rose plant. The genotype is mentioned. Okay, so it's green, genotype is given, and a brown stemmed rose plant, again the genotype is given, both small g, okay, are allowed to undergo a cross with each other. List your observations regarding. What will be your observation? Okay, regarding first color of stem in F1 progeny, percentage of brown stemmed plants in F2 progeny, and ratio of capital G and capital G small g in F2 progeny. Okay, now the moment you see this question, what should come to your mind? That whether it is from monohybrid or dihybrid, it is from monohybrid, okay, because they have taken only one character. What is that character? Color of the stem. And what are the traits? Green and brown. So that means that we are discussing a monohybrid cross. The question is based on a monohybrid cross. And please, don't get surprised if you come across any other plant and not a pea plant. It's not necessary that you will be getting questions only from pea plant. Okay, but the laws will be applicable. Whatever you have read, with respect to the pea plant will be applicable in other plants also. Yes, there are exceptions, but those are not in the syllabus of class 10. So I'm not discussing those. Okay, fine. So now what you have to do is that it is clearly mentioned that the genotype, the solution, the genotype of green, we have taken green stem and rose plant, green stemmed rose plant crossed with a rose plant with brown stem. It is written that green, the genotype of green is capital G. That means green is the dominant trait. Okay, and for brown it's given small g. That means brown is the recessive trait. Now if you have understood Mendel's laws of inheritance and monohybrid cross, it is not difficult to answer this question. You don't need to show the working also. You can straight away say answer the first question. The first question is color of stem in F1 progeny. means whether the stem will be green in color or brown in color in F1 progeny. Now out of green and brown, if green is dominant, then definitely the dominant trait will be expressed in F1. So you can say that the color of the stem in F1 progeny will be green. Why? Because green is the dominant trait. Okay, and how do we know green is the dominant trait? Because the genotype is given. In the genotype, it is clearly mentioned that green is capital G, capital T, G. That means it is the dominant trait. If I show the working, first gamete formation, okay, and then fertilization. So we get capital G, small g, which also represents a rose plant with green stem. Fine. So the first answer is green. What is the color of stem in F1 progeny? It is green in color. Okay. Done with the first part. Okay. Now the second part, percentage of brown stemmed plants in F2 progeny. Okay. Now that we have already discussed about monohybrid and dihybrid crosses. We know about this. So what happens next? In the next case, we will see that, basically selfing will be done, of these F1 plants, right? And what ratio do we get? What are the genotypes that we get in F2? Let me write it down here. As far as F2 generation is concerned, what are the possibilities? Capital G, okay? Then we get capital G, small g, 50%, and then we get both small g. Fine, we get both small g, right? So you know the ratio also, that the phenotypic ratio is 3:1, genotypic ratio is 1:2:1. Okay, you know this thing. The question, percentage of brown stemmed plants in F1. Brown is recessive. So what will be, it was not expressed in F1. In F2 it will get expressed, right? That law of segregation or purity of gametes. But then what will be the percentage? Only 25%. Fine. Only 25%, right? 25%, green, 50% as far as genotype is concerned, 50% will be, hybrid green, and 25% will be brown. So percentage of brown stemmed plants in F2 progeny will be 25%. Okay, it's going to be 25%. Next is ratio of GG, capital G, small capital G, and capital G, small g in F2 progeny. So what will be the ratio? Capital G is 25% and capital G, small g is 50%. So the ratio, it's going to be 25% is to 50%. That means it is going to be 1:2. This is the ratio, 1:2. Fine. So the ratio is going to be 1:2. Now, the idea behind picking up this question, okay, is very simple. While when we go for those board corrections also, there also we see that many a times what children do is that they simply write down the genotypic ratio or the phenotypic ratio. They don't even think that what the question is asking for. Here they are not asking you to write down the genotypic or the phenotypic ratio. They are asking you the ratio of capital G and capital G, small g. So capital G means pure green, which is 25% only. And capital G, small g means hybrid green or heterozygous, okay, green, which is 50%. So the ratio is going to be 1:2. So be very, very careful with these kind of questions. Okay. Now let us move to the next question. Okay, let us now see the next question. Here, the question says that after self-pollination in pea plants with round and yellow seeds, following types of seeds were obtained. Analyze the result and describe, you have to analyze the result and describe the mechanism of inheritance of these results. Okay. Now what do you have to see here is the moment you, as I told you in the previous question, that the moment you see the question, you have to first ask yourself whether it is a question based on monohybrid cross or a dihybrid cross. Now here the question is based on dihybrid cross. How do we know? We are talking about, two characters. Round is a trait of which character? Shape of the seed. Okay. And yellow is the trait for which character? Color of the seed. So we have taken two characters here. Okay. And it is clearly mentioned that after self-pollination in pea plants with round and yellow seeds, means these were the round and the yellow seeds were formed in F1 generation. And after self-fertilization, that is selfing in F1 generation, this is the result that we are getting. This is the result that we are getting. There are 630 seeds with round and yellow, 216 round and green seeds, 202 wrinkled and yellow, and 64 wrinkled and green seeds. Okay, that means the ratio here is going to be 9:3:3:1. So the moment you see this, all these things should come to your mind. Okay. Now, for all those who are shocked to see that no, the ratio cannot be 9:3:3:1. Maybe it is 9 point something or all these things. Then let me tell you, it is not necessary that you will be getting exactly 9:3:3:1 as the ratio. Okay, it can be in decimal, so we just round it off and we write the answer. So approximately it is 9:3:3:1. Fine. So that means what was there in the F1 generation? Plants with round and yellow seeds. Okay, round and yellow seeds, F1 generation, that means round will be heterozygous round and yellow will also be heterozygous yellow. So what will be the genotype then? Round and yellow selfing with round and yellow, like it is selfing. Okay, so both round and yellow seeds, right? So this is again the F1 generation of a dihybrid cross, in which in the parent generation we took round and yellow and wrinkled and green, or maybe round and green and wrinkled and yellow. We have seen all these things in dihybrid cross. So what are we going to get? After selfing is being done, this is what we are getting, the ratio 9:3:3:1. So now, how to write down this answer? You will be writing that this is a dihybrid cross and write the statement of dihybrid cross. I have told you that the statements of the three laws are there in the description box. You can write down that statement. So this is the dihybrid cross, and then you write down the statement of the dihybrid cross. And then you will have to explain. So what are you going to explain? You will say that during gamete formation, okay, during gamete formation, what is going to happen is all possible combinations will be seen. Okay, right? Same will be here as well. Capital R, capital Y, capital R, small r, capital Y, and small r, small y. So during gamete formation, all possibilities will be there. Okay. In case of the third law, what did I tell you? That law of independent assortment states that each trait exists independently of the other. Okay, so the characters, the traits can exist independently. It is not necessary that a particular trait will be seen with another trait only. It can exist in any combination in case of pea plants. So, if it is round can go with yellow also, round can go with green also. Both possibilities are there. Wrinkled with yellow, wrinkled with green, all possibilities are there. This is law of independent assortment. Okay. So you have to state that law, that is law of independent. This is in accordance to Mendel's third law, that is law of independent assortment. You show this, okay, and then you perform the cross, and that will be 9:3:3:1, exactly the same that you are getting here. Here also, if you reduce these to the simplest forms, you will be getting the value as 9:3:3:1. Okay, this is what you are going to get. Fine. And I told you exactly you will not be getting 9:3:3:1, but roughly it is going to be 9:3:3:1 only. Okay, so this is what you are going to do here. This is the way you are going to write down the answer. Okay, so with this we come to an end of this discussion. Thank you very much for watching the videos, and next I'll be starting with life processes. Okay, thank you very much.